Spain knows its traditions. Spain knows its monarchy. Spain knows its future queen. But no one expected this. A letter. A confession. A whisper of love not meant for public eyes. And the moment it surfaced, everything changed. Because the story everyone thought they understood, suddenly wasn't the story at all. They expected duty, but instead, they got vulnerability. They expected silence, but instead, they got a heart speaking. They expected a carefully protected royal future, but instead, they got a question. Who was this letter really meant for, and why did it shake the throne? The truth didn't arrive in a press statement. It didn't arrive in a photo op. It arrived in ink, in handwriting, in words that felt too honest, too intimate, too powerful to ignore. And once the rumor spread across Spain, the entire nation stopped, listened, and asked the same thing. What exactly did Princess Leonor write? This story begins not in scandal, but in expectation. Leonor, the future Queen of Spain, raised from birth inside a world defined by caution, decorum, and the heavy weight of history. Every gesture watched, every word interpreted, every silence magnified, her life written long before she learned to write her own name. Yet the rumor that now ripples through the royal landscape begins with something simple. A moment of privacy, a moment of softness, a moment when a young woman, carrying a crown she has not yet worn, allowed herself to imagine the one thing she has never been allowed to choose freely. Love. Whispers say the letter wasn't meant for the public. It wasn't meant for advisors. It wasn't even meant for the king or queen. It was addressed to someone unknown, someone unnamed, someone described only as my future. And that one detail was enough to ignite a country already fascinated with the mystery of the next chapter of the monarchy. What could a future queen possibly say when she believes no one is listening? Rumors say the letter opened with a confession, that the crown defines her, but doesn't complete her. That she feels both loyalty and longing, duty, but also desire. And that the life she will soon inherit, one of ceremony, diplomacy, endless responsibility, creates a loneliness almost impossible to explain. This wasn't the voice of a carefully trained royal heir. It was the voice of a young woman wrestling with the collision of destiny and emotion. And Spain was not prepared for this vulnerability. According to the circulating story, she wrote about the fear of choosing wrong, of loving wrong, of disappointing a nation. She wrote about the expectation that her future husband must be a symbol instead of a person. Someone politically acceptable, someone culturally acceptable, someone strategically acceptable, a partner chosen not only for love, but for the monarchy. Yet, between those lines, people claim they found something else. A quiet rebellion, a declaration that the heart of the future Queen of Spain still belongs to her. Not to the government, not to advisors, not to tradition, and that is what made the letter controversial. Because it didn't ask for permission. It didn't ask for guidance. It didn't ask for approval. It asked for authenticity. The rumor goes on. She described the kind of love she dreams of, someone who sees her as Leonor, not as the crown. Someone who listens before speaking. Someone who understands the distance between public duty and private tenderness. Someone strong enough to walk beside her, not behind her. Someone capable of loving a woman who belongs not only to them, but to Spain. And then came the line that stopped the nation cold. The line insiders insist was real, handwritten, emotional, and impossible to misinterpret. I hope you love me for who I am before you love me for who I must be. That sentence alone, if true, would explain why this letter became the center of conversation from Madrid cafes to royal watchers in London, Copenhagen, and beyond. Because it was not the voice of a monarch. It was the voice of a daughter, a sister, a young woman growing older in the spotlight. But the letter didn't remain soft. It deepened. It sharpened. It revealed a truth many suspected but few had ever heard described so plainly, that becoming queen means giving up entire chapters of ordinary life. And that even if Leonor accepts this duty willingly, it still comes with an emotional cost. She allegedly wrote of the childhood moments she missed, the teenage experiences she couldn't have, the friendships she couldn't freely maintain. And then she wrote something that struck a nerve across Spain. I don't know what it means to be chosen for myself. I only know what it means to be chosen for my role. For countless Spaniards, that line felt like the curtain finally lifting. A rare glimpse into the hidden life of a princess who carries the hopes of a nation but often hides her own. And then the letter turned intimate again. She described her imagined future husband. The man she hopes exists somewhere. Not a prince, not a political figure, not the perfect choice, but the right one. Someone who doesn't love the spotlight. Someone who steadies her during storms rather than creates them. Someone who understands the power of silence. Someone who protects her peace when the world refuses to. These words didn't sound like a royal proclamation. They sounded like a diary entry written with trembling honesty. And that is exactly why it spread like fire. Spain wasn't shocked because the letter was scandalous. Spain was shocked because it was human. But humanity is not always welcomed inside tradition. Reports claim the royal household reacted quietly. No public comments. No confirmations. No denials. Only silence, which of course fueled even more speculation. Did Leonor actually write this letter? Was it a private reflection misinterpreted by the outside world? Was it an emotional exercise never meant to be seen? Or was it something else entirely, an intentional message, released in a controlled leak, preparing Spain for a future where its queen chooses love as fiercely as she chooses duty? The uncertainty created a new question. If this letter is real, then who was it written for? The theories multiplied overnight. Some believe it was meant for a childhood friend. Someone who knew Leonor before the crown became heavy. Someone she trusted enough to share her thoughts with. Others insist it was written for no one specific at all, simply a way for her to give shape to emotions she had been trained to suppress. And still others claim she already has someone in mind. Not publicly, not officially, not confirmed, but quietly, behind the scenes, in the one place where her heart still has freedom. And the more people speculated, the more the tone of the letter gained importance. Because beneath every romantic line was a deeper message, one that touched the core of Spain's relationship with its future monarch. Leonor doesn't just want a throne. She wants a life. This is what transformed the rumor into a national conversation. People weren't simply curious about who the future king consort might be. They were suddenly confronted with the emotional weight Leonor has carried since childhood. And yet, the most powerful part of the letter wasn't the longing. It was the strength. Toward the end, she reportedly wrote something that shifted the tone entirely. If I must choose between a life that looks perfect and a life that feels real, I will choose the real one. For supporters, that line was a revelation. A sign that Spain's next monarch will lead not only with discipline, but with authenticity. A queen willing to claim her own humanity in a role that often demands its sacrifice. For critics, it raised concern. Could a future queen prioritize personal emotion over royal expectations? Would love complicate the monarchy? But for Leonor, according to the whispers surrounding this letter, the message was simple. If she gives her life to the crown, she wants at least part of her heart to belong entirely to herself. And then came the final paragraph, the one that captured the world's attention. The one that felt like a bridge between her present and her hoped-for future. I write this because I refuse to enter the future as a shadow. If you are the person destiny places beside me, then know this now, I will give Spain everything. But I will give my heart only once. And I pray that the one I give it to will protect it, not because it is royal, but because it is mine. Those words, real or rumored, were enough to leave Spain silent. Suddenly, the future queen didn't seem distant. Didn't seem untouchable. Didn't seem perfect. She seemed real. And that reality, raw, honest, emotional, changed everything. From commentators who praised her courage, to royal analysts who questioned the timing, to young Spaniards who said they finally understood her as a woman rather than a symbol, the reaction was immediate, intense, and deeply divided. But in one way, the nation was united. This letter, whether private or reflective or entirely misinterpreted, forced Spain to confront something it rarely acknowledges. Leonor is not just preparing to be queen. She is preparing to be herself. And now the world waits. Who will step forward into that future? Who will match the vulnerability written in those words? Who will walk beside a woman destined for a crown she never asked for, but is ready to carry? Spain has heard the rumor. Spain has felt the emotion. Spain has seen the shift. The question remains, when the time comes for her to choose her partner, will the man standing beside Princess Leonor be the one she imagined in that letter? Or will the crown write the ending for her? Until that day arrives, the only truth Spain knows is this. The future queen has a heart strong enough to rule a nation. And soft enough to dream beyond the throne.